Hello, and welcome back to the channel. It's your public health safe space where meaningful conversation takes place. Today we're out and we're back at it. Another topic to discuss, something that you can broaden your perspective with. And sometimes it's something that we often overlook or decide not to speak about. But today we're addressing it. So dads, come to the front of the line. It's about you today. Today's your day. Thank you as always. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's get going. It's a chilly day. So we're taking a lap around the track today, just a simple walk. And we're going to discuss this. So today we're talking about single fathers in silence. Most times they don't discuss this topic, but today we are, because dads are important. They add a lot to society and to the family. And so we're not going to leave them out of the discussion. We'll see how it fits in our public health safe space. Now, there is a story we don't tell enough. A man standing in a kitchen at 6 a.m., packing lunches, braiding hair, checking homework, hiding exhaustion behind a quiet kind of strength. No applause, no community spotlight, no language for what he's carrying. We've spent decades talking about single mothers, and rightfully so. But today, we ask a harder question. What happens to the men who raise children alone? It's a windy day. Can you hear it? Because beneath the surface, data tells us something deeper. Single fathers are raising their children, and the number of those doing so are increasing. They struggle in silence, and in some cases, dying earlier. This is not just a family story. This is a public health story. Over the last 50 years, something significant has changed in the structure of the American household. In 1960, less than 1% of households with children were led by single fathers. Today, however, that number has grown to nearly 1 in 4 single-parent households. That's not a small shift. That's a structural transformation. Single-father households have increased ninefold, reaching millions of homes across the U.S. Yes, I know that is striking information, but it is the truth. It's factual. And the research supports it. But here's the reality. Even with that growth, single mothers still represent the majority, often about 75 to 80% of single-parent homes. So what we're seeing is not replacement, it's expansion of an issue that we are addressing today. And systems that were designed for one reality are now struggling to adapt to another. Single parenting is not just physical, it's psychological, it is logistical, and it is constant. Researchers call it the mental load, the invisible burden of managing everything: school schedules, healthcare appointments, finances, emotional regulation of a child. Now imagine that alone as a single father. Studies show single fathers report poor mental and general health at rates similar to single mothers. But they are far less likely to seek help. Why? Because culturally, men are taught, handle it, don't break, don't ask, and so what happens? That's the attitude society have towards our men. The stress doesn't disappear because of that attitude, it internalizes. The data becomes even more concerning when we look at long-term health. in that respect, research shows that single fathers report worse self-rated health compared to partnered fathers. This is strongly linked to lower income, which we expect, higher unemployment, reduced social support, and in some studies, single fathers have been shown to have higher mortality risk than other parents. Let that sit for a moment. This is not just stress. This is a measurable health disparity. Now let's talk about comparison, not competition. Because the truth is, both groups are under pressure, but in different ways. The financial reality is, single fathers tend to have higher average income than single mothers, but still significantly lower than married households for both. When we look at the poverty gap, about 43% of single mothers live in poverty, compared to 24% of single fathers. Can you imagine? Now, we have to take a look at the mental health perspective of it. Both groups experience similar levels of poor mental health, but single fathers are less studied, less supported, less likely to access care. Now, the social perception is that single mothers often face judgment and scrutiny. But here we see single fathers often receiving sympathy, but less structured support. And I'm sure they would prefer the support. And the difference matters to us because sympathy does not build systems. Here's where the public health system reveals a gap. Many support systems were built historically around maternal health, women-led caregiving models, and mother-child bonding frameworks. So what happens when the father is the primary caregiver? He often becomes invisible in the system. Single fathers report feeling overlooked in pediatric and family health environments, lack of targeted mental health outreach that support their needs, and fewer community-based support networks overall. And most importantly, a lack of recognition that they even exist and are at risk. Now, we're talking about the mothers, the fathers, but what does the data say about these children that exist in these households? Now, the question many people ask when it comes to this is, do children suffer more in single father homes? The research gives us a nuanced answer. Outcomes are less about gender of the parent and more about stability, income, emotional support, and consistency. So if our fathers are not getting these things, then the children by default get less as well. In fact, research suggests that the quality of parenting matters more than the number or gender of parents. However, children in any single parent household may face higher stress exposure, economic limitations, and increased responsibility at younger ages. And we know there are many children who are babysitting children. But here's the key. It's not the father, it's the pressure. When we look deeper into caseworker and social observations, patterns begin to emerge. It is so windy. Single fathers operate in survival mode, and they are more likely to do so. They work longer hours, suppress emotional distress, delay health care, and isolate socially in order to achieve everything that's needed to support their children. And many report feeling unseen, unsupported, and they're expected to just endure. They're expected to carry on as if nothing is changing. This is not resilience alone. This is a silent strain. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave these fathers? With a truth that may be uncomfortable. And we do uncomfortable here because we want to increase our perspective. So let's look at what this uncomfortable truth is. We have built a system that recognizes struggle, but not always equally. Single fathers are not failing, they are adapting in systems that were never designed with them in mind. And that's the uncomfortable truth. And if public health is truly about equity, then we must ask, who are we still not seeing? Because if we don't see the father, inevitably we ignore the children. Because behind every statistic is a father trying to hold it all together alone. So I'll end by saying, to all the single fathers within the sound of my voice, know that we salute you. Your efforts are seen, and your contributions to our society will never be forgotten, because the children carry your guidance with pride. Thank you for all you do, and for always excelling and being a solid, respectable member of society. We put these issues to the table because we want to advocate for change, and support is needed. We may not be able to change the fact that there are single mothers and single fathers, but for single fathers, we want more support, better systems that help them. And today we stand up and we advocate for our single fathers. Thank you for joining. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you can, give a single father a helping hand. Have a wonderful day.